Hello, everyone out there in podcast world. I hope you're having a great day. You're listening to or watching the Service Business Mastery Podcast. I'm your host, Tersh Blissett, sitting virtually next to my co-host, Joshua Crouch. And we're going to talk about productivity. We're talking with Blaine. We met each other about probably 3 years ago we do a weekly mastermind group every Friday. And Blaine is the guy who kind of put that stuff together. And he is the chief results officer and talks about really being extra productive within your personal life and really taking it to the next level. And that's what I've really learned the most about from Blaine. Josh, you never met Blaine before, had you?
Not in person. I've seen his name around just because we're hanging around the same circles and stuff like that, but I've never actually personally met him.
So his really cool. I got a book by Blaine. It's the book edition, the study edition of Think and Grow Rich, which is really cool. But I'm super excited to pick Blaine's, pick his brain and see what we got going on here. But with that being said, I hope you enjoy today's show. And also, if you like this episode, please share it with your friends and click subscribe.
Are you looking for valuable business advice to reach that 7-figure revenue mark? Do you want actionable tips to properly navigate through every business challenge you encounter along the way? Let Tersh Blissett and Josh Crouch be your guide in getting you to the top here at Service Business Mastery. Tune in as they sit down with world-renowned authors in business, leadership, and personal growth who share valuable insights about management, marketing, pricing, human resources, and so much more. Let their nuggets of wisdom gold guide you in owning a thriving, profitable, and ever-growing business. Here are your hosts, Tersh and Josh.
Hey, Blaine, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, great to be here. And Tersh, 3 years now and running, and I'm honored to be on here with you guys. And Tersh, I will say, I mean, in all these years, the thing I like most is you do have this kind of heart of a servant. You're always looking to help people, and I think through this podcast, both you guys are helping people. And the cool thing is that your podcasts are living online, so that you have the potential to help people not yet born. So I think there are people not yet born who will someday listen to this and say, that was the moment. Those guys helped me out. So I'm excited and honored to be here today.
That's deep right there. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. And we've talked about this a couple of times, but we've never actually connected on the show. So I'm really excited for the listeners to hear what you have going on. I've learned from you a lot. It's one of those things where you are the people you surround yourself with. And I'm honored to be with you every Friday and spend some time with you. With that being said, can you share what you do? Because you do a lot of different things, and connecting people and doing masterminds is one. But share a little bit about you and your background and what you do.
Yeah. So I would say, like, for me, like this defining moment, people have these moments of dawning comprehension or whatever. And you mentioned the book Think and Grow Rich. And so I kind of like both of you, I've always been like a seeker, right? The seeker of knowledge. How can I do better? And I was probably wired with a little bit of that. But in college, back in the 80s, unfortunately, I need to date myself. But back in the 80s, I ordered an audio cassette. Now, maybe some listeners don't even know what that is, but an audio cassette on this book, Think and Grow Rich, right? So I was just looking to improve myself. And so in college, I actually read, I still have the book here. I read Think and Grow Rich, a paperback version. And so when I read that, I realized at that moment, reading that book, like, okay, I can take what I think about and I could bring it about. I had this saying, what you think about, you bring about. But I realized that there was a little bit of like a systematic approach in the way that our minds work, and what your kind of subconscious mind feeds to your conscious mind could be controlled a little bit. And so, so what happened is I did have some success. I graduated from Purdue University. I went to work for Hewlett Packard. I didn't last very long there because I really wanted to get out on my own. I became a franchisee with Domino's Pizza, and so I did that for a while. And then I got held up at gunpoint. My wife's like, "Yeah, I think you might want to sell that business." I go, "Honey, you're right." But I had some success, and I finally got out on my own, and I basically started helping people get results, and I had a success in helping other people. So I'm kind of wired to help people get results. And people started calling me, "Hey, you're like the chief results officer." And so I started a business around helping people get stuff done, and kind of became America's chief results officer. I got that registered trademark so I could be the only one in America. But what happened is I made enough money that I bought one of the original Think and Grow Rich. So I have kind of the original, one of the first 5,000 copies. And when I opened it up, it cost me $1,000. Maybe it's worth $4,000 now. But when I opened it up, the first page was different. And I go, whoa, wait a second. So I still had my old paperback. So I went and I got it. And sure enough, the first 2 pages were these instructional pages. And then I found out, and actually upon reading those and following those pages, and we can talk about those pages if you guys want to, my business was worth about, say, $250,000, $300,000 at the time, but I wanted to own $1 million business. But within about 5 months of reading those and following those instructional pages, my business was actually worth $1 million and has never been less than that, since. Wow. But what was interesting is I found out, I started comparing the books, and there was all these differences. And so it turns out that most people read the wrong version. And for a number of years, I was buying the correct version, and the guy who was making it passed away, and his wife stopped producing it. So I ended up having to kind of create that book that you showed. I had to create I had to kind of bring back the original with some instructions and with a book study version. And so that's where that book came from. But anyway, that's how I kind of ended up getting to where I am today. And now I am chief results officer for some masterminds, like the one that you're in, Tersh, and a number of other ones, and really just trying to help people not only get more done, but kind of get the right stuff done.
That's really awesome.
Is that kind of where, because what is, I guess the vague question is, what is the right stuff? How does somebody know something's right or not? Because right is a little subjective for each business, So I guess, and I don't know if that's too vague of a question to start the episode here, but how do you start figuring out what the right stuff to focus on is?
Yeah, it's a great question. And so there's a number of kind of like exercises you can do to try to discover that at a big higher level, right? Like, what's my purpose? What are my priorities? What's important to me? But what's interesting is then when you get all the way down to the actionable part is you watch what people do, and then they kind of reveal their real priorities. Now, sometimes those are conflicting, right? So I know a lot of service, home service industry owners are conflicted. They want to do stuff with their family, but they want to build a business. So some of that is difficult, but choosing the right stuff is kind of goes back to basically kind of what is important versus urgent, but carving out time to work on the important stuff that's not necessarily urgent. That's typically where the value is. Now, how do you figure that out, right? I mean, there's this 80-20 rule. Have you guys heard of the 80-20 rule?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. So supposedly, if you believe in it, and most people do, 20% of what you do produces 80% of your results. And so you got to focus in on the 20 and oust the 80. But to focus in on the 20, that takes like the one thing a lot of people don't like to do, and that's think. So really the key to this idea of getting the right stuff done is something I call NDP, next day planning. So like I never let a day end without planning the next one. And so it's harder for some people. So we got to do some tricks, and we got to build some new habits. And I love to talk about this thing called 21-second habits, how to create a new habit in 21 seconds, not 21 days. If they told you it takes 21 days, they lied to you. So anyway, we could dive into that too.
I'd love to hear about that, because
me too.
So Julie and I, we talked about this before. We spoke about it last night. As funny as it is, right before you and I were texting, like probably 5 minutes before you and I were texting. So this is a weird coincidence, but it's we were looking at our list of things that need to be done and working on prioritizing them. Like there are things that are very important, but they will take like a long time to do it. And then there are other items that are a little less important, but can be done relatively quick. And then there are other items that are very unimportant, but can be done almost instantly. And so it's like, all right, which ones, how do I prioritize which ones we do? And, essentially become the most efficient possible without wasting time, because even though we're busy all day, we might not be productive all day.
Right. Yeah. No. So, okay. So there's a lot to unpack in that. There is this chart. Stephen Covey has it called the Four Quadrants. It's also called the Eisenhower Box. And that's where you kind of have these quadrants of what is, urgent and important, and you're kind of breaking that down, and you're trying to, get away from the less urgent, and you want to move to the things that are important but not urgent, let's say. So when you're looking at that, yes, there is this old rule that says if you can do it within 2 minutes, just do it. Now, I used to believe that. There you go. He's got it right there.
I literally was just going over that with our team in our group meeting the other day. So
nice.
That's implementation right there, Church. That's how you do it.
There you go. So anyway, back to, that there's this, when you get looking at what you can do, right? They say if you can do it in 2 minutes, just do it. Now that worked for me for a little while, but then I realized I had 20, 30 2-minute tasks. Well, there goes a half hour, right? So I chunked it down to 1 minute. And I tried that, and that still didn't work. So now what I do is I put those things on a separate piece of paper, and I do those things when I need a break, when I'm waiting on somebody, if I'm in a real boring meeting, I'll knock some of that stuff out. But that worked for me. And so you've got to first decide on what's important, and you have to carve out time for the importance.
That carve out time is literally something that I have been focusing on, because otherwise I know if I leave my schedule open, anyone can book through our team for an internal meeting or clients or prospects, and that calendar gets slammed. Like it literally gets to the point where it's like, okay, meeting, and I don't get anything done until like 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, and my brain's fried. Like I know I'm not thinking at my best capacity at that point. And that's why usually I wake up early and get the stuff done early. But that carving time, I think, is a huge point, that people just let other people dictate their calendar instead of like, hey, let's look like 2 weeks ahead. Let's start blocking out space holders. I know Tersh does this a lot, space holders, so he can work on podcast stuff. He can work on his HVAC business project or whatever he's working on. But I know for me, I started doing this a few weeks ago, and it's been like game changing as far as internally, just what I'm able to accomplish during that time.
It's also hilarious that like I know your circadian rhythm, like I know my circadian rhythm, and they're the exact opposite. Like at 6 a.m., don't ask me a question. And Josh is wide awake and just ready. So when we record at 9 o'clock in the morning on Wednesdays, I'm like dragging until we get to about 9:30, 10 o'clock. And then I'm just a little rabbit, just go into town. But then like now it's 1:30 here, 1:45. And I'm in my prime, and Josh is like, you can just tell Josh is like, all right, we're wrapping up the day. It's funny how once you learn that circadian rhythm and learning how to block people out, and like you said, Josh, not allowing other people to dictate your schedule, that makes a massive difference. That was a game changer for me years ago.
Yeah, I mean, if people get to know themselves, right? That's one of the best things you can do is know yourself, and then block your time. Yeah, block the time with yourself, and put it in there, and don't let anybody break that. I mean, I think the biggest thing I see is business owners, especially, they're under planning. Right. And I always say, like, let's say you walk down the tarmac, you're about to get on the airplane, you look over in the cockpit and there's no pilot. And you think, maybe he or she's in the bathroom, whatever. So you sit down, and then they announce, hello. The flight attendant comes on and says, yeah, there's no pilot today. Now, how long are you going to sit on that plane when he or she says there's no pilot? Then they might come back on and say, well, I might try to fly it. And they're not even a pilot. So you're not going to stay on the unpiloted plane, but that is what you're doing every single morning when you wake up and you don't have a plan for your day. You're not going anyplace.
Yeah,
You're not.
I noticed that, like, if I don't think about the next day, the night before, or a couple days before, I'm kind of like, I'm doing busy stuff. Like, and I realize I do it after the fact. I'm like, man, I didn't really like accomplish anything today. I just kind of moved some stuff around. I kind of wasted my time. I feel like I wasn't like the most productive version of myself.
And then
but I love
the worst thing is to look back over the week and you're like, I was busy.
Shit, I didn't do anything.
Yeah, exactly. But I didn't get a dang thing accomplished all week. And it's regret, because time is that one commodity that you can't get back, you know? And I love what Blaine says every time we part ways is, what is it about the pilot?
Well, the bad news is time flies. The good news, you're the pilot, right? So that feels, leads right into that story about you getting up and getting on the pilotless plane if you don't have that plan. And your day's going to go so much better if it's planned. And there's some easy techniques. Like let's unpack that habit. Let's say that you want to make sure that you plan your day every day. And that's the new habit you want to start. So do you guys have any idea how you can create a new habit in 21 seconds?
No, that's what
I've always heard.
I need to know.
I've always heard 3 weeks, 21 days. That's all I've always heard. I've never heard someone say you could do it in 21 seconds, but I am very interested in hearing this.
Okay. So first of all, we have to understand that you are already a habit master. Right. So sometimes if I'm doing a live presentation, I'll, more than half the room typically thinks they're no good at habits. And so the first thing we have to establish is you are a habit master. And so what I do is I ask people, I'll ask you guys, do you guys brush your teeth?
Pretty often.
Yeah. Are you
every morning? First thing I do when I get up, I go to the bathroom, brush my teeth.
Okay. So Josh, out of the last 365 days, how many days have you missed doing that? None. Boom. Habit master. Ding, 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 ding. All right. So
the light bulb goes off in the crowd's head.
That's right. And so what happened is the way I discovered this was my wife. She had migraine headaches almost daily. Now she doesn't have it anymore, but the doctors would say, look, you got to fill out this log, like what you eat, how you feel, when the headache happens. And so she had to fill out this log, and she'd only do it for a couple of days. Then she'd lose the log. Then she'd forget to do it. Then she'd be in a migraine. And I'll say, where's the log? You do not want to ask that during the migraine. So I learned that very quickly.
Duly noted.
but we realized that, I realized and I said, look, let's do this. We took the headache log and a pen and we put her toothbrush on top of it. Now she's a twice a dayer, never misses. So every time when she was brushing her teeth, she just made the notes. And so she went it was close to like 90 days without missing a day in this log. We took that back to the doctors. It was very helpful, got the right meds, got all the stuff, and life was good. And so the key to this 21-second habit creation is that you link it to an existing habit. So that's why it happens basically instantly. So another example for me is that I have this Bible app. So I want to make sure that I do this Bible app. And so right now, today, I'm at day 1,455 days in a row without missing that app. Now, the reason is because I habit linked it to opening my phone. Now, every single day of my life, I turn my phone on and I look at it, right? So on the home page is just this app. So that I'm not allowed to touch any other buttons. So there could be a text from my kids. There could be some big news thing. There could be an email from Tersh about a podcast. I mean, exciting stuff is in there, but I can't touch any of that until I do that first. So I habit link the opening of my phone, which happens every day, to doing that thing. So
what if it's a habit that's not first thing in the morning, or it's not that you couldn't relate it to like first thing in the bathroom or in the evening and routine? What if it's a habit you're trying to develop and it's like at a random time of the day?
Yeah. So good question. So what happens is that there are things that you're a habit master at already that happen more than once a day, every Monday, certain days of the week or weekly or monthly. So the trick is, and I have articles about this where I kind of like list all these things to help you figure out what to link to. But you're right. You for the habit linking to work, you have to figure out what is that thing that you could link to. Right. So do you have an example of something that happens more randomly for you?
No, I don't.
You know,
No, I
like some
can't
people
think
say they
something.
want to exercise. That could be at a different time of the day.
Yeah,
What was that?
hard pass on that
Tersh,
one.
I'm gonna start texting you when I go to the gym. I was there at like 5:30 this morning.
No, don't text me. You're gonna
Dude,
get something
you're gonna
nasty
get,
in
you're gonna
response.
get a text message, a Facebook Messenger, and a phone call.
That's probably what I need, so I'll get up earlier.
Well, so like back to this, daily list. So I had one client, she wanted to do that, and I said, well, what do you do every morning? So one is she could do it while she's brushing her teeth the night before, but she says every morning I start with a cup of coffee. And I said, look, you can't have the cup of coffee until the list is done. So I said, now, if you want to drink your coffee and do the list, that's okay, but otherwise you can't. And so then she just, she went on to, not miss any days because she has the coffee every single day. Now it's helpful if you link to something that you have an urge that kind of you surf to do the thing that you may or may not want to do. So for example, like I do this Bible app in the morning because I want to get to my text messages, my emails, and all that other stuff that's in my phone, right? So if you can surf some kind of an urge like that, you have the urge, you want to brush your teeth, it can be a similar thing. But finding that thing to link to, is what works. And you're already a habit master at so many things. You wouldn't believe it. We're creatures of habit. So you can find something to link to.
Yeah, I'm
I love
thinking
how you
like
link that.
every time I get the urge to look at TikTok, I should have to read 10 pages of your study book.
Yeah,
And
something
That
like
should
that.
be before you send me a TikTok that you just looked at.
Oh man, that'd be a lot.
I mean, I have an iPhone, so I take those apps like that and I bury them inside folders that say "Don't do it." So there's an extra. I have to do like this.
That's a
extra
lot of
step.
folders.
But anyway, in habits, both works, like dialing up the resistance or dialing down the resistance if you want to do it, or dialing up the resistance if you don't want to do it. So there's a whole thing about bad habit elimination, but that's like a whole another topic.
No, it's great. I love how you tie that to something that, because there's things we look forward to every single day, whether it's the cup of coffee, reading I say newspaper because I don't know how many people read newspapers anymore, but they read their news or whatever they do.
Exploring
check
the RSS feeds.
I mean, honestly, like I never even thought of it, like, because first thing I do in the morning, I brush the teeth, I check my phone for emails and messages for my team and stuff like that, and the day starts, and it's now I'm going like it depends on what I got in. My day's going to whatever direction that points me to, but doing something first before that, I can see where that would be very beneficial to put something in place there.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a habit of looking at emails in the morning because it used to piss me off every morning.
Right.
So now I don't do it before 10 o'clock. I don't look at my first email before 10 o'clock because I would get fighting mad at some emails and ruin my day.
So Josh, too, if there was some new thing you really wanted to do and you say, I can't turn on my phone or I can't touch my phone until I do that thing, you're going to knock that out of the park because you're going to want to get to that phone. You're going to get up early if you have to, or you have to condense it down, right? Like I also like to take a mind shower in the morning. Like most people, they shower their body every day, but I like to shower the mind with a little meditation, kind of clear the garbage out of, or take out the head trash. And so I like a 10-minute shower, but you know what? If I only have 1 minute or 3 minutes, I'll still do one. I'll get it in because it's one of the things on my home screen that I have to do before I can look at everything else. So sometimes you want to win early and win often. You might want to shorten it down, but don't fail. Because when you fail, then you get angry, then your energy shifts, you lose momentum. So I always say win early, win often, even if you have to chunk it way down.
So you said that it was on your home screen. Is that like on your desktop, your computer home screen that you have your meditation app or something?
No. So on my phone, so like when you open up, if you have an iPhone or even an Android, there's screens of apps.
Yeah.
But you can push them all to the second screen. So when you open up your phone, you only see a small number of apps.
Right.
That's where I have that.
What do you recommend for your morning shower, your mind shower?
Well, for the morning shower, I'm in the shower, but for the
Like the
mind,
water, and
yeah.
I got a Kohler rain shower head, and no.
That's right. That's a nice one. The Westin hotels have those. All right, so I use an app called Headspace,
Oh, I've heard of that.
but there's also an app called Calm, which a lot of people like. There's one called Insight Timer that's free. Headspace and Calm have free versions, but also paid versions. So I think those are probably Insight Timer. Those are probably the top three.
So
Now-
what can you explain to me what those are? Because I'm not familiar with those. But what do those apps do on a daily
Yeah.
basis? Or
Yeah, so
what
those
do they
are-
take you through?
Yeah, those are meditation apps. And so
Okay.
basically they walk you through, like you can take courses from them about meditation, but they can walk you through exercises where you breathe, you clear your mind. They're great to stop, to lower anxiety. But you can also take them to improve your finances. So there's various things you could do, but it's basically meditation apps that walk you through breathing. They also have like music, right? Like if you're wanting to study, or if you're having trouble falling asleep, I've used it many times to they have versions that kind of gradually bring you to sleep. So it's a lot of things for the mind, but it's mostly kind of meditation based.
Okay.
Now that literally takes the thinking and growing rich to the literal that literally defines it. But what's the benefit of doing the mind shower? Like it's something that obviously Josh and I don't do. But we probably should.
Why do you
doing
say
it.
obviously like that?
Because we're both asking questions about it. It's like I could be telling you all about it if I did it, but I don't. It's everything I can do just to get out of the bed and make it stumble to my office without murdering anybody in between the two. So like I probably need something to make mornings a little bit more positive. But I'm legit curious, because I've heard that it's very difficult to start the process. Like it's very easy to stop and fail throughout that process of meditating on your own.
Yes, it is. And if you say, I'm going to start a meditation program or an exercise program or any program, once you fail, then your brain kind of puts up a roadblock to even starting again. It's really bad. So what you have to do is you have to win. And so what I mean by that is you have to chunk it all the way down. And if someone's really a good teacher of meditation or even exercise, they're going to say, okay, let's start with 1 minute. 1 minute. You have 1 minute. 1 minute. You've got 1 minute. So start with 1 minute and build from there. Now, if someone says, well, I'm going to do an hour a day, I'm like, okay, but just make sure we start with 1 minute this week. So the idea is start small as it needs to be, right? Like my mind shower could be 1 minute. If I have no time, it could be 1 minute. Typically probably 3 minutes is the lowest I go, but I prefer 10 minutes. But you just start small and you build up from there. And the benefits of the mind shower is a couple. There's physical benefits. So like you're calmer, you're less irritable, you kind of reset yourself. Physically, your blood pressure comes down, so there's a lot of physical benefits to it. And mind wise, you kind of clear your space. And it's at the end of the mind shower that I'm kind of thinking, okay, what's the most important thing today? And so I pick a word each year. And this year, my word is vital. And so when I start my day, I look at my schedule and I say, like, what's the vital thing? Like if I could only get one thing done today, and I got that one thing done, I would feel like it was a good day, and sometimes people use different exercises. The one I like is I say, well, what if my daughter, she lives only a mile away, if she called me up and said, Dad, let's go for a hike today. So I got 1 hour before I'm going to go on a hike. I'm going to scrap my plans for that because my daughter's like super busy. I'm going to scrap all my plans and I'm going on that hike. But I only got 1 hour. What's the most important thing I can get done today? And when I knock that thing out and I really don't have the hike, then I'm on a high for the rest of the day. So that mind shower for me is that pivotal morning thing that kind of springboards me into a good day.
So what happens if you're overzealous and you're constantly picking well, say you just start off with 10 minutes and you fail, but not only that, like if you follow the mind shower that you described here properly, but then your targets or your goals that if you set for the day, every single day you fail to reach the targets and goals. I think we've talked a little bit about like a 70% rule, like winning in tennis, and we're talking soccer for my kids and stuff like that. Share kind of a little bit about like that thought process.
Yeah. So I got my kids involved in tennis, and I've been a work at home dad, so I was able to like be coach and help the high school team and all that. Anyway, but what we realized is that there was this ideal win-lose ratio. And so it was somewhere around 70 to 75% win. You have to win 70% of the time. Now, if you're winning 99% of the time, you're not learning anything. You're not stretching. You're not growing. And that's more my problem is I set goals for the week, but I want to win so much that I've got to back it down. I'm winning too much. So if you're winning 80% or more, you got to stretch. But if you're losing, more than 30% of the time, 40%, 50%, 60%, you're losing, you're not achieving your goals, you're going to quit and you're going to lose energy. You're going to lose motivation. So you've got to keep that ratio. And so what you need to do is you got to drop down the targets. You got to make the targets smaller. They shouldn't be deadlines of disappointment. There I go again. Now the head trash piles on. Now you got, garbage bags full of head trash if you continue to lose. So you have to win. So you got to chunk it all the way down to the doable, to the winnable, to the 1 minute if you have to. Everybody's got a minute. And then if you don't even do the 1 minute, okay, now you have some kind of core limiting belief that you're going to have to go back in, reprogram, and come back out victorious because everybody's got a minute.
So how do you know? So this question leads into another question, but how do you know if you're winning or losing in that frame? How do you know if you're winning more than 80% or if you're losing more than 35%? Because when you look back at the day, a lot of great things will happen, but and maybe this is just me, but I focus on the one thing that I failed at. And so that overwhelms the day for me sometimes. And it's like, this is a super crappy day. And then Julie's like, yeah, but what about all these great things that happened today? Like, yeah, but what about this one job that
you focus on the thing you failed at versus all the successful things that you've done.
Yeah. So that is more of a pre-programming in your mind, and you're getting something good from that. So you're focusing on that one thing because then maybe it pushes you to do more the next day, or you're getting some benefit from that focus onto that negative thing, that one bad thing, rather than kind of like surfing the good stuff that happened. Right. And so you have to kind of question that and see, and maybe it's advantageous for you because it helps you do more and go for more and never be satisfied. But if you never stop and smell the roses and you never enjoy the plateau, then you're more susceptible to burnout. So that's why it's a little bit of a balance. And that's probably why your bride is able to balance you out. Kind of my bride does that as well for me, because I'm all about go, 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 go. But you got to have some plateaus. You got to enjoy it. And most people, you say, are you winning most of the time or losing? And they just answer the question. You don't have to keep a score or tally. It's just, am I winning more than I'm losing? And it's not losing, it's learning, right? So every time that something goes wrong, that's that opportunity to learn. But what you have to be careful, I have this saying, white table, what you think about, you bring about. You have to be careful because your brain is looking for things to make whatever you think truth. In other words,
confirmation bias.
Yep.
Yeah. Like if I tell you, hey, Tersh, today is going to be the best day of your life, and you're almost hit by a car. Hey, Blaine, you were right. I was almost hit by a car. My life was saved. But if I said today's the worst, going to be one of the worst days of your life, and you almost get hit by the car, same thing. And then you say, Blaine, you're right. I was almost killed today. So it's all in your perception. And so that is the, huge takeaway. I actually got that from a guy named Jim Rohn, who was a personal mentor of mine. I got to share the stage with him a few times. But he was the one that said, it doesn't matter what happens to you. That doesn't determine your life outcome. It's what you do about what happens. That's what makes all the difference. So anyway, that's, I think, you're gaining something from that focus, but I think you could tweak it a little bit.
Yeah, and I love, like, whenever we're meeting in masterminds, it's the one of the largest challenges that we have is the reward aspect. So we create targets for ourselves for the next week, and then if we don't reach those targets, then we have a leverage. So we have to do something which is typically painful, or we have to give away something. Like, I think I leveraged one time a car of mine. Like, if I didn't reach this target, then I would give one of our mentors a car that I own. And like, if you know me, you know that, like, I literally have tattoos of car parts. Like, I'm a gearhead. And then that same one, the reward was for Julie and I to go to Universal Studios. Well, we did that, and then it was like, all right, now then everybody held me accountable to rewarding myself, because I was like, all right, we accomplished that task. Now let's move on to the next one, and we kind of skip over the rewards. And like you said, if you don't ever stop to smell the roses, then it's like, psychology wise, you just start building up this you never reach that, you never get the dopamine drip.
There's always something to fix, right? There's always that next thing. Oh, once this is fixed, you got this next thing, and then this other thing, and then you never feel like you're actually winning, even though. And I did this is the first time I ever did this. So the end of the last day of 2021, I scheduled an email for myself for December 31st of this year. Where are we at personally and professionally today? And I'm sending it to myself at the end of this next year so I can reflect back where we were. Because I know it's like so I actually looked at the email like the other day because it's in my scheduled, and I'm like, what is this? I forgot I scheduled it. And I'm like, holy crap, we've made a ton of change like already. And we're not even a full quarter into the year yet. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting to like send yourself those little like messages here and there. And I might even do it quarterly now. Like end of March, like send myself one for the next quarter or something like that. Cause I told Brittany the other day, we were laying in bed. I'm like, man, we made a lot of changes and a lot of really good stuff in the last couple months. You don't realize it because you're so focused on the day-to-day grind, if you will. And you don't think about all the positive things that have come out of that work that you've done.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And future self stuff is great. So send yourself that, and even having your future self a year from now writing you a letter, giving you encouragement, like saying, hey, stick with this. This is what really turned out well. Again, your white table, what you think about, you bring about. You're actually kind of creating that. And if your desire, this is what Think and Grow Rich says, if your desire is strong enough, like he talks like the burning white heat of desire, if it's strong enough, you'll get that thing. Things will start to happen. And so for me, back to Think and Grow Rich, what happened is I read those instructional pages, and the first page said, hey, you got to get really clear, crystal clear on what you want, super specific. And then the second part was you have to read this book in community with other people. And so what happened was I got really clear about what I wanted, this $1 million business. And then I did 5 book clubs in a row. And that's why I kind of made it a book study edition. But in those few months, what happened was I had this business, and the ability, called a reticular activating system, which is this kind of executive secretary in the back of the brain that lets things. And I was in a room and somebody talked about needing to sell their business. And man, I picked up on that, and I ended up buying this other business and merging it with mine, which got me to my goal. And I thought it was going to be 3 to 5 years in like maybe 5-6 months. So anyway, that's, again, your future self, kind of what you think about, you bring about is really key stuff.
So let me ask, okay, so part 2 of the question from earlier, as we're trying to become more productive throughout our day, both personally and business wise, how important is it for us to write down our entire activities for the day, like spending a set period of time of just tracking every task you perform throughout the day for, let's call it a week or 2 weeks or something like that? Or should we just do something different, like to figure out what we're doing throughout the day? Because sometimes as a business owner, it's really easy for us to just be putting out fires all day. And then you look back at the day and you're like, oh, I didn't get anything done. I wasn't productive. Whereas and also you can say sometimes like, hey, I'm super busy all day long. Don't add more tasks to me on my plate. But in reality, there's a lot of stuff that we're doing that we shouldn't be doing, and we could be delegating that stuff if we realized how often we were doing that.
Yeah, no, good, great point. All right. So occasionally there's, I call it personal tracking, right? So occasionally, if you're trying to figure out, now this is really good sometimes for employees to do too, but yes, you can gain a lot of knowledge from tracking your day. And so there's two ways to track your day. So one is a timing. So in other words, like I could provide you guys with worksheets if you want, but it's every 15 minutes, in 15-minute intervals. That's what the sheet is. Now, if you want to do hourly intervals, whatever you want, but you've got to set a timer, like a reminder on your phone or whatever, that every so many minutes, you're going to break for 60 seconds and you're going to write down what you're working on. And so what you did. So that's one. That's just basically time wise. And again, typically you only have to do it for a couple of days. It's just a couple of days, and it'll
Gotcha.
you'll now you have to do it a couple of days for whatever day you're tracking. Like some people, let's do it on a work day. That's different than the weekends, and so. But whatever you're tracking, a couple of days works. The other one is based on. I have some sheets where you just record every time you switch from one task to another. So that way, like if you're doing something for a number of hours, then you don't have to track it every 15 minutes. But if you switch or you're multitasking, then you're looking at that stuff. And a lot of times what that stuff does is it shows you where the problems are that you kind of knew, but you didn't really have the data. Like you're in meetings too much, or you're spending too much time on the internet or on email. It kind of TikTok, exactly. So TikTok, but what has to happen is yourself. So you have to switch, just like you said, like I can't go on TikTok until I do this or that. And the best owners, what they do is they front load the day. So like by 10 a.m., they're done with all the important stuff. Like they got it done. Like the most important stuff is done. And then, the rest of the day is the rest of their day. So they don't overschedule their day. They underschedule the day, which forces them to be more efficient, more productive. There's this thing called Parkinson's law that whatever time you give a task, it'll expand to that time. So cut it down, cut down the meetings, cut down the fluff, but front load your day so that, with whatever you think is important. That could be exercise, that could be connecting with your family, whatever it is, front load the day. Then if the day gets away from you, it's not as costly to your productivity of the important stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's good stuff.
This is great stuff.
Yeah.
Like, this is awesome.
Josh, did you have any other questions that look like you were?
No, I just want to talk to Blaine for a few hours.
Right. We could talk for hours a day.
I love this stuff because you're always looking for ways to make the day more fit. I mean, we're always kind of trying to find that next level of efficiency. I mean, Tersh and I yesterday and Julie sat and did a Zoom meeting for the podcast, and so it was so much fun to like build this stuff out because we were just like bam, 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 and it was like I felt like Zapier and I had a high because I was like, this is awesome. Like what a productive day. Mm-hmm. And I love that feeling. Like right. you almost go searching for that feeling again. Like, how do I get that high? Like it's like a drug, but
it actually is. Like physically, you're getting different brain chemicals like dopamine and other brain chemicals when you are doing that. Like when you're in this highly flow productive state, it's super good. I mean, I don't know how much time we have, but one last thing from a productivity standpoint that I like to share is what I call the 30-minute hour. So that's like how to get an hour stuff done in just 30 minutes. So
let's dive into that real quick. That'll probably be the last thing. We'll wrap that up.
Okay. All right. So let's start first with the reward here. So I'm going to prove to you, and you actually already did it. You're just like a habit master. You're already a productivity master. You may have forgotten, but you have. But let's start with the reward. So let's say that I'm going to show you right now how to get 30-minute hours, and you string a few of those together. So now you have a free, guilt-free 2 hours. Guilt-free, you got your stuff done because you did the 30-minute hours. You did 4 of them in a row. Now you have 2 free hours. So I want to find out what would you do with those 2 free hours. So for me, I love the Peloton bike. I'd probably jump on the Peloton. I would maybe read a book. I would get out for a little bit of walk, maybe take a nap. I mean, what would you do with 2 hours guilt-free? So let's go Josh first. What would you do with that time?
I would probably go work out so I can lose some weight.
All right. Working out. All right. Tersh, what about you?
I would probably work on cars and organizing the shop of some
Okay.
sort.
All right, nice. All right. All right. So the first thing, just want to start with the reward. All right. So let's talk a little bit about this. So there's a day that occurs sometimes a few times a year where you're more productive than any other day of the year. So and Tersh might have heard me talk about this before. Do you guys know what that day is?
I do.
Does Josh?
I don't.
It's the
Hit me with it,
day,
Tersh.
the day before you go on vacation.
Bingo. So the day before
Okay,
vacation,
sure.
people are 3 to 10 times more productive than a normal day. Now, we're only looking for 2x, not 3x to 10x. We're just looking for 2x. And so what happens is those days are different. Now, we don't have time to unpack it all. I'm going to just kind of give you the answers here, but I have an acronym called PDF. So just remember 30-minute hours the day before vacation, and use the PDF. Now, sometimes that's easier for people to remember because we say, hey, I'm going to go print out the PDF, which I sometimes ask people if you know what that stands for. It's portable document format, but not in our case. It's the PDF is going to stand for something different. It's going to stand for planning, delegate, and focus. So what happens the day before vacation that gives you that added productivity? The first one is your planning. You can't wake up the day before vacation without a plan. You got so much to do, to cram in. You got a plan, where you're going to be, what you're going to be. You've over-planned that day. So that's key number one. Number two is delegate. You ask for help. You can't get it all done. You got to set up these people to do things while you're away. So you're doing a lot of delegation, and you want to carry that through. I have a little sign that says day before vacation in my office to remind me all day long, planning, delegate. But then the last one is the most important one, and that is focus. On the day before vacation, you think about all the things you don't do, right? So the day before vacation, you're not in long conversations on the phone. You're not chit-chatting. You're not lost in long emails. You don't have time for any of that, right? You're really, really focused in. And so that's the key. So you're saying no to a lot of things, right? So you want to be doing that. You're sharp. You stay on schedule. You use timers, right? You say, look, I've only got 15 minutes to make this call, to do this thing, to get this report done, to finish payroll, whatever it is. You're using timers and time blocks throughout the day. You're also using what I call single, multi, and batch tasking the day before vacation. So single tasking is like, hey, you've got to do some work where you got to shut the world out. You're doing that. You're shutting the world out. I've got to get this thing done. I've got to build this report. I've got to do this thing that only you can do. That's single tasking. Also, day before vacation, a lot of multitasking, meaning two things at once. Like, okay, I want to exercise, but I want to spend time with the kids. So we're going to go kick the soccer ball. We're going to go play tennis. We're going to do things where I can get more than just one thing. I'm going to make some calls from the car, or I really need to listen to Tersh and Josh's podcast. So I'm going to listen to that in the car or while I work out. So you're looking where you can do two things at the same time. And then the last one is batch tasking, where the day before vacation, you don't go 3 times out to 3 different stores. You batch your errands together. You batch your computer work together. You batch your phone calls. You batch that stuff where the context is the same. You batch that stuff together to kind of make a big, a big difference. And you use technology to your advantage. So anyway, the PDF, planning, delegate, and focus. You do that, you can get 60 minutes worth of stuff done in just 30.
It's funny you mentioned the timer. Like I had this
I
little
love that
automatic timer, and these here where I will force myself to do stop doing a task, because I'm guilty of diving into rabbit holes and just spending 6 hours on a task. And I've found that it's very important that I put the time restraint on myself, because then I won't, email pops up, I won't go over there and pay attention to that. I'll stay focused on the task at hand. If I know I only have 60 minutes to do it or 30 minutes to do this. And otherwise I would go over there and then get distracted with that and then come over here and I'm all over the place because I don't have that time restraint set on myself. So I like that you mentioned that stuff.
Well, that's key. The other thing is you got to do mind capture. Like you're in the middle of something, but then you get this idea and you could jump on the internet and you could do all this stuff. And the idea is to capture that somewhere. Like I sometimes just use Siri and tell her to take a note on my phone, or I have a scrap piece of paper where I'll write the idea down, but get it out of your head, like capture it, but then get right back to your task. That's been a big savings for me because I get a lot of ideas in the middle of other projects.
Yeah, I like Evernote for that. I've recently been really gotten on to Evernote, and it's
Can you
searchable.
speak into Evernote?
Yeah, you can do a lot of
Yeah.
lot of different things. If you're on the internet and you can clip something from a website and just say, just send it straight to Evernote, and you can look at it later. You can set it up an automation so that it reminds you to look at it later, and all this good jazz, which is really cool.
You have to teach me how to use that, Tersh.
All right, well,
Nice.
cool, Blaine. We appreciate you coming on and sharing
This is
everything
great.
with us. It is really good. Where is the best place for people to go to learn more about you, to connect? You have a lot of books out. I mean, you have lots of different resources and everything. What's the best place for us to reach out and learn more about you?
Yeah, probably as simplest as I did a TEDx talk. So Blaine, BLAINE, TEDx.com. I did a TEDx talk and talked about Whiteba, what you think about, you bring about. And I kind of reveal a little kind of a little elegant, simple thing you could do to remind yourself of your goals a couple, maybe 60, 100 times a day. So it's kind of a cool little hack, mind hack. But anyway, that's probably the best thing. And once you opt in there, then you'll kind of get my articles and you'll get my email and you can reach out.
Cool, Blaine. Well, we appreciate it. And if anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. We really appreciate you being here. If you're here to the end of the show, please click subscribe, share this episode. And yeah, with that, I hope you have a wonderful and safe day. We'll talk again soon.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you and appreciate all the service you're giving to the industry. So well done.
Thanks, Blaine.
Our pleasure.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Service Business Mastery. Now that you are equipped with essential business advice from this impactful conversation, you are one step closer to becoming the successful owner of your dreams. If this episode has been helpful to your business journey, don't forget to subscribe to the show, leave a rating, and share it with other owners as well. Visit servicebusinessmastery.com to learn more.